And
I've been
unmasked.
unmasked.
And looks like we are recording. Perfect. Miss Tenea Hudson.
What's poppin', Alex?
How are you?
Man, I am good,
Yeah.
but stressed out.
Yeah? Why are you stressed out?
Life is life, and Alex, it's just, personal experiences are happening. Blessings are coming at the same time. Scripts need to be memorized. Tears gotta have to be shed. Like, it's just a lot to deal with, but it's a beautiful roller coaster.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said that better, especially in this crazy career in life that we just chose. It's
ridiculous.
It's the biggest roller coaster career I think that could ever exist. The amount of ups and downs, I know that I've said this quite a bit, especially on this podcast, but with something like acting, there's so much more that goes into it that people realize. And I don't think people see actors and stuff and oh, they're paid millions of dollars for this role, blah, blah, blah. It's the easiest job in the world. I'm like, bro, you have no idea what kind of, especially stuff like action movies.
Okay, behind those closed doors.
Oh, no. No. It's brutal.
Yeah, it
especially
is.
In something like an action movie, the amount of training that has to happen, the amount of physical, emotional, especially those who are method actors.
Yeah.
The amount of emotional drainage that happens.
Yes, of course.
Because especially if you're going to portray an intense emotion, it has to come from somewhere. And that's why it's a lot of those best actors that can portray those are mentally fucked.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that right now. You cannot do an intense role like that or have a career like that without being a
little bit crazy yourself, for real. No, I feel that. I agree with that because I feel like all of us have different personalities.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of us get into it, so we could freely express those personalities without being judged and pointed at oh, yep, that's Tenea. Right. That's her.
Yeah.
So I agree with that, Alex. I really do.
Yeah. Is there specific things that you try to reach into for a lot of those hardcore emotional parts, certain memories that I have to bring back up, or just certain trigger points where I really don't want to do this for this part, but I know I'm gonna have to reach down deep into this part of me that I may or may not be comfortable with to try to do it?
Alex, at this very moment, I have not had that role yet.
Really?
I've had it in the practice room in a class.
Yes.
Where I've had to dig deep into that. But putting it on film and in front of camera hasn't happened just yet. I will say I do have an up-and-coming project that will consist of that type of character that I am preparing for. But right now I'm trying to figure out between using those personal experiences that are really attached to me to dig deep within getting those emotions, but also finding it in a safe way, the way I'm not in that moment the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm a very emotional girl myself, so it's hard for me to get out of my emotions if I haven't fully processed them in itself,
I think that's honestly one of the most dangerous things about this acting world is a lot of times, especially for something I can only imagine how it would be for a TV show, because a lot of people, they see 12 seasons of a TV show and oh, whatever, it's a minor role. That's 12 years of someone's life that they have to dedicate to a certain role. It's not just oh, we're filming 6 episodes today, and then we're filming an entire season in 1 month. That's not how it works. Each one of those episodes is at least minimum a full week to 2 weeks of production.
Yep.
And then that's why when you see actors oh, they were on this show, but then they stopped. It's well, they weren't just on that show and then stopped. They were on that show and dedicated 10, 15 years of their life to a single production.
They're on a break.
Yeah.
PTO.
PTO. I think a lot of it, especially something like Friends, that was such a long-running show, and a lot of people oh, where's Ross? Where's Rachel? Where's all these other characters and stuff? I don't ever see them in productions, and it's well, they also spent their entire from like 20 years old to 40 years old on the single show doing a single thing. Yeah. And for them, I mean, obviously that has a pretty good paycheck. If they don't want to work after that, they have the option not to work, but it's because that the amount of work that they've dedicated to a big production like that. And like when I was first getting into acting, I didn't even realize of how much goes into it. Even when I was doing shorts and stuff, I was like, oh, short film, knock that out in like 2 days or something, like 4 hours and stuff. No.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it was.
And the thing about short films is like you have to kind of get there quicker than what you would usually do for a project that's 60 minutes or so,
right?
Or a show in itself. So that's another thing that I'm learning, how to cry faster, how to get to that emotion faster, how to dig deep within without taking so long of getting there. And that's the thing. Again, I'm a processor. I have to take my time.
Well, even like getting there, that's one thing to even get there, but sometimes you have to do that multiple times.
Right.
So it's like I had the first main production I had to do like a kind of crying scene or something. Mm-hmm. The first time I'm like, okay, I did the take. I'm like, oh, that wasn't as bad. I'm like, okay. Again, I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, we have to do it again. We have to get a safety. And I'm like,
yep.
All right. So I did it again. Like, okay, cool. Now we're doing it from this angle. I'm like, bro, I don't know how many times I could do this. And it's like when you go into that, you really see how big of a toll everything is because if something is hard once, you have to remind yourself that there's a possibility you might have to do it 20 times over. I did a kissing scene. You know how awkward it is to try to kiss someone 40 times in a row the exact same way? Like,
yes.
It's not just like, oh, I get to kiss people on there. Right. I get to kiss this cute guy or something. It's like, it's not a cute kiss at all.
Right. Right. And then what if you're not a good kisser?
I had a friend of mine on. She had to do a kissing scene with a guy, and this is a guy who did not take very good oral care for himself. Like, you can tell he probably didn't brush his teeth for a couple days before. Yeah, plaque. He's sitting there beforehand, like scraping at his teeth or something, kind of like flick it off, and okay, you ready? And she was like, oh my God, no, probably like sardines or something before that. No. I'm like, if you're gonna do that, I don't care how bad you usually take care of your mouth. Please, for the sanity of everybody, take care of yourself beforehand.
And that's crazy because if you bring it back to the root of when I very, very, very first started acting, they teach those in the basics fundamentals.
Right.
Self-care is a part of your brand.
Yes.
We are a brand individually.
Yes.
So your hygiene, keeping up with your eyebrows, making sure your nails is clean and not like bitten down to the very dirt and bottom got blood and just dirt all in them. Make sure we're exercising, drinking our water, taking care of our skin, because ultimately, sometimes when it boils down to it, it could be the simplest things that cannot get us cast. Our nose could be too big, our teeth was too yellow, and they need a bigger smile, or you're too short, or maybe just a little bit too chunky, or it could be something very simple. So the basics can get us far too.
And unfortunately, it can be an objectifying thing, such as the way you look. But at the same time, you also have to look at it from their perspective. They have two actors that are neck and neck. They have they can both portray this emotion extremely well. They can both read these and articulate their words extremely well. Like they're neck and neck. They have to choose somebody. If it's like, well, okay, I know it's going to be really objectifying. Let's go to their Instagram. Who has more followings? Let's go to their looks. Who has more symmetrical face? Who's going to be more appealing? Because they're going to be on screen. You have to find, especially if it's a role that's supposed to be likable, you have to find somebody that physically looks likable, And so I feel like that's why a lot of times there are a lot of actors that maybe aren't the best at acting, but they're like, you know what? We can work on that. We can do some editing and stuff, but as long as like they know they have a good jawline, they have symmetrical face and stuff, that's the stuff that we can't really reproduce as well. So you know what? Let's just cast this person. Or you know what? Maybe they look so good that their acting doesn't have to be as on par. It happens. Unfortunately, it happens.
You get certain people like us in the audience like, he's cute, but this is horrible.
Literally, that's happened so many times to where I'm like, I mean, I see why they chose this guy. Like, he's completely chiseled and everything, but I'm like, do you really? His crying looks like he's constipated. What are you doing? Or like, his anger looks like he's just trying to shit. Like, when I look at it, and obviously that's an actor watching these and analyzing it from an actor's perspective, but still, I mean, even when I wasn't an actor, I'd still look and be like, there's something off about, I can't tell what's off about this guy, but in his performance, there's something so off that it's just unappealing to me. Like, I don't like him being on the screen.
Right.
I want to switch to a different character at that point. I'm like, he looks good, but I just don't believe him. I don't believe at all. Is he trying to be sarcastic? Right. Or is he really this bad at doing what he's supposed to be doing, you know?
Right.
So, I don't know. A lot of people just underestimate everything that really goes into it. And I mean, I've had 3 acting coaches now in Phoenix alone, and each one will teach you different things. So it's a big investment and stuff. Yes. Obviously, me and you met in acting class.
Yes, we did.
Are you still in that same class?
I am not.
No.
I recently released about, I want to say about 3 months ago. Everything ended well. Everything is still good. The relationship is still great. Wish them all the best.
Absolutely.
I'm just ready to try new things and different things, and take that investment money and just invest in other different type of techniques and tries, you know?
Yeah. So what kind of productions and stuff have you been doing since starting your career?
Ooh, you know, a lot of my work comes from industrials, which are informational, educational videos for companies. So far, I've worked with Volkswagen as my biggest one.
Wow.
Nova Home Loans.
Okay.
Explore Rentals, which hasn't been released yet for the material itself. I also landed my first commercial last year.
Congratulations.
Yes, Arizona Lottery. And I'm hoping and praying they bring it back this year because, baby, why not?
Yeah.
It's like we got the best song that y'all always sing every year. You're going to have those scratchers still. So, let's go. So I'm just praying for, a residual check.
Yeah, absolutely. That's our bread and butter right there.
Yes. And once I land, a better one of those, a more elite client, that residual check will be more beautiful. But I love my progress thus far. Yeah. I've done some plays as well at Don Bluth Theater. I love them out there. I love Don.
Theater is not my strong suit.
No.
I haven't done theater since I was probably in like high school or like a little bit of college. I don't know. The thought of doing theater makes my skin crawl.
I love theater. You could be big, and I'm big and extra. So
that's the thing. I guess it depends on the type of actor you are, because if you are someone that's very expressive, especially with their body and their voice, theater is your bread and butter. But if you're someone who's a little bit more naturally, a little bit more reserved, I feel like it can definitely be a little bit more difficult and stuff. And for me, it really depends on the role. Sometimes I can force myself to be a little bit more extra, but in all honesty, I'm a little bit more comfortable with, like, I can portray emotions, but not on this giant scale of, like, how dare thee type of stuff, you know?
Right. Oh, gosh, I don't do no Shakespeare. Let me just tell you. I am afraid of Shakespeare. I'm afraid of Shakespeare, let me tell you. I am not of that. No. See?
I'm not, like, I respect the creation of Shakespeare, but I could never do a Shakespeare play. Like, the language, it's everything in it. In order for me to really process the script, I need to know exactly what the character is saying and what their intent, like what the intentions are behind it.
Yeah. And Shakespeare has messages.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, obviously,
it's a decode shit.
Yeah. And with the terms that they use and stuff, it's like, hold up, what the hell does this even mean?
Right.
Like, this is what they considered to be like lingo or something back in those days. But today, it's like, I wouldn't ever say anything like that, or this word doesn't mean the same thing as it did in this time period as it does today. And so a lot of times I'm like, part of me in this acting is I don't want to just be trying to memorize lines and reiterating lines. Anybody can do that. That's not acting. That's just memorizing and saying, okay, here's where it says this. Acting is where you can actually see the story and interpret it into a physical story instead of something on paper. Yeah. And with something like Shakespeare, I can't do that. I'd have to have someone literally like I can't. I'm so bad with words, but like
they would have to change the
translate it.
Yeah, they would have to.
They'd have to translate it to me. Be like, okay, what is this scene about? What is going on here? Because I don't know at all.
Exactly.
I know what these characters' names are.
Put it in layman's terms, please.
Yeah. Dumb it down for me a little bit. That I literally have to have them dumb it down for me a little bit, and for me, I'm like, I hate that. I feel so weird about that. How old were you when you first found your love for acting, or how long have you been in this?
So I moved here in Phoenix in 2016, and I found my love for it in 2017. So 6 years now?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've been in it for, you have a little skin in the game then.
A little bit.
Where'd you move here from?
Minneapolis, Minnesota, born and raised.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would have thought that Minneapolis would have technically had more opportunity for something like acting in there.
Well, believe it or not, I did not know nothing about acting before I moved to Arizona. Acting just kind of like fell in my hands, in my lap. A school called John Casablancas hit me up. I don't know how they scouted me and got my information, and I've always wanted to know how Janet got my information.
Did you ask him?
I did ask her. She just was like, we scouted you. And I'm like, Janet, stop trying to just not disclose this information. Where did you get my information from?
Yeah.
But long story short, I loved it. They loved me. They rated it on an ABC scale. A is you had all your material. They're ready to sign you. B is we see potential. Go to school. C, come back in some time. I was ready to be. I loved the whole just interaction. We were able to do commercial. We were able to do a runway walk, read on a script, have like an interview or mock interview with one of the directors at the school. So I just loved the whole process. And when I looked at myself on screen, I said, I look kind of good.
Yeah.
You know, I was excited. I just was very excited. And I was like, you know what, let me sign up for the school. Did the school. After the year, I signed with their mother agent. Okay. And it kind of took off from there. Print was my first thing with them, with Legoland, Legoland.
That's a big client right off the bat.
That is.
Dang.
So it was just a great feeling, and I just loved all of it, and I just like, I'm gonna keep doing this, and I just kept going.
So what were you doing before that?
Shit, customer service. I was working in the call center. You know,
Classic
I was working
stuff.
regular schmegular jobs. You know, I had me a little boyfriend at the time. You know, I don't have any kids or anything. Yeah. So I'm very family oriented. I just spent a lot of time with family and friends and just worked a regular job. I have an associate's in criminal justice. So really? I tapped a little bit into that. Yeah, I tapped a little bit into that. I worked as a reentry program for men who had just got released from prison. Wow. And that was a thing. So I started to go into that. So I had the mindset of heading into that field and possibly being like a parole or probation officer. Okay. But when things got shifty in the relationship, I said, you know what? I'm done with Minnesota. I'm done. I'm like overly done. Which I'm out of this place. I'm going peace. And I packed up and I drove down to Phoenix, liked it, got it approved for an apartment in a day. I was like, you know what? I'm coming back. Yep. I got it approved for my apartment in one day.
Dang. Yep. That's impressive. Yep. I can't even get approved for an apartment in one day.
Probably not right now. True. Back in 2016, I felt like it was real. It was easy. It was a smooth transaction.
That's true. That's true.
Smooth as ever.
Dang. Okay. So what was like the career path that you were originally? Were you wanting to go like hardcore into criminal justice and be in that kind of field?
It started with nursing. I had got my CNA, certified nursing assistant, and I worked in a nursing home and such. And I love helping people and just putting a smile on people's face. So I had a very big interest in nursing. When I first got into college, I did the nursing program, but I quickly found out that anatomy and physiology is just not my thing. Okay, we got too much going on in the body, too many veins, words, bones. I can't even deal with the
body's too
articulates and
complex.
the itises. I can't do it all. I can't. So I then switched over to criminal justice. And because I have a personal background, with the criminal justice world, and I'm an African-American girl with a lot of African-American roots, I related more to that subject. So I ended up getting my associates in there. And like I said, working in the reentry program. and was going to tap into my being a probation officer and just help people just be better because, you know, my mom was a recovering addict. So I seen her through that whole process. So, and I loved her through that whole process. So for me, I was like, am I going to do this? I would rather work with people who need to transition and need that support to get back on the right direction and stay there. That
makes sense. Okay. And when you moved to Phoenix, was it completely just by yourself?
Yes, by
myself. Did you have any connections here, or was it just a blind, you know what, I'm just going to try it out and see how it goes?
I had nobody here but 2 cousins and their kids. I had no friends or anything like that. I literally went out to the bar by myself to start making friends when I first moved here. Yep.
So what made you decide on Phoenix? Was it those cousins that are here, or was there...
Yeah, my cousin lived in Tolleson at the time.
Okay.
So when I started there, lived out there for a month with her, and I just started to look up places, and I found my first place in Mesa.
Really?
Started off Alma School in Southern.
Okay.
Yep, and I stayed there for my first year or so, and did my class and stuff at the school, and it took off from there.
So obviously, with being in acting, Arizona's not the first place that people think of, and we only just had this tax bill introduced or reintroduced to Arizona. Why not make the jump to say screw it and go to LA or Atlanta or New York or one of these bigger cities that actors tend to clichely thrive in?
Yeah, that's a good question. So while I was at John Casablancas, I got introduced to the IMTA. It's the International Model and Talent Association program, and they hold it out in LA and New York. I went to the convention. It was a week long, and NYFA, the New York Film Academy out in LA, ended up scouting me and wanted me to attend and look at their school.
Okay.
I found interest in that, and I actually moved out to LA for a year in 2017-18.
Oh, really?
And I did go to the New York Film Academy, and I have an 8-week film certificate from their acting program.
Oh, wow.
There. And then I stayed out there for a little bit. Therefore, after I actually landed my very, very, very first TV role while in California.
No way.
And I just seen the footage from this, and this was like I said, this was back in 2017.
Yeah.
I seen the footage like a month ago. Somebody seen me on TV, and it was for Judge Maybelline. And they knew it was me, but it was old as hell because I had my gold hair. I was a little more chunky. You know, I had no sides on the, I had no hair on the sides. And they're like, is that you? I'm like, yes, that was my first TV gig.
Oh, I love it.
But then I had got booked on my play out here for Guess Who's Coming to Dinner for Don Blue Theater. So I was like, I'm not going to go back and forth. So I ended up just deciding to move back to Phoenix.
Okay. That was the other thing that I didn't realize until I got in the industry is turnaround time.
Yeah.
Especially, like, I still haven't seen a lot of the stuff that I was in when I first started. Like, you're not in something and then, like, next week, oh, here's a footage, like... especially like movies. A lot of times when we see movies, especially independent films that got released or something, and it's like, actually this was made back in like 2010.
Right.
It's just had to go through so many different circuits and get so many different accolades and stuff, or maybe it had to get remade or something. Like a lot of times you'll be like, oh wow, oh wait, why do they look different in their Instagram than they do in this movie? And it's like, well, this movie's actually, it was made and filmed like 3 or 4 years ago. Right. It's just taken this long for it to actually hit the big screen and get the budget and get everything to be able to go through these circuit runs and stuff. And for me, that kind of just blew my mind because I was like, oh my gosh. So they were filming this. Different. They were 22 years old and they're 26 now, and they're finally getting the accreditation from these big films. And it's like, actually, I've been doing this for 6 years. And it's like, oh, this is like your first breakout role and stuff. It's like, I've done like 20 since then. And you just haven't seen anything yet.
You ain't seen nothing, yeah.
That was a big thing. I've seen a couple of movies like that where I'm like, oh, wow. And then I'm like, wait, when did this get produced? And it's like 4 years ago. And I'm like, dang, they've aged a lot since then.
Yep.
But they're still only getting recognized for this role because it finally blew up years later and stuff. And so it's not one of those instant gratification type of jobs to where it's like you do this and then you can expect to be famous or expect to even be recognized within a month.
Yeah.
Now, if it's something like social media, obviously that has a big turnaround. It's like something that you went viral for last week. Everyone's like, oh my God, hi, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Or if it's in your family or something, then yes, obviously you can kind of expect more of that. But I don't know, it's crazy to think about because typical careers, like to be in a certain career for 10 to 20 years, that's already like wow, you're dedicated to this company.
Right.
Every actor that I know of that is actually consistently in it has years under their belt minimum. It's not like, oh, I've been just doing this for a couple months. Like, unless they're a one-hit wonder, it's where it's like, here, you look good, come be in my movie, and then boom.
Right.
A lot of them are like, actually, no, I've been doing this for decades. Like, I've been doing this since I was a kid. While you were at your high school parties and stuff, or doing this, I was out doing auditions in New York City as a 13-year-old kid, and I was like, dang, I couldn't imagine. I was in finance for 4 years, and that for me, I'm like, dang, that was a lot. And I look at this and I'm like, I'm already catching up to the longest career I've physically had just in this one little thing. Yeah. But, I mean, it's obviously different because the passions are different. It's a creative aspect instead.
Yeah, and I feel like as the time goes on and as we're doing this on a day-to-day basis, month to month, like I said, we're working on ourselves. You know, we're exercising, we're eating well, we're meditating, we're doing our thing, we're making our money. And along that, we're having auditions. Like, for me, auditions are wins. So if I'm not, even if I'm not booking, getting that audition is me working in a way. I'm being able to practice. I'm still being able to express my craft and show it off to the individuals that want to see me. And it excites me because every month somebody wants to see me. So that makes the time more gratifying.
Oh, absolutely.
Me, you know, and it is a long process.
Well, and I feel like you have to also kind of change your mindset about the trophies that you get in this business because it's not going, especially if you have to be in this business for the right reasons. If you're in it because you want to be the next Kim Kardashian and you want to be famous and rich and doing all that, I'm like, get the fuck in. Get out. Exactly. Get out now while you can. This is not the type of thing for you. But if it's something that you love, because you have to learn, like, oh, I just landed a short film, it's a student film, but they still auditioned 100 people and I got the role. Okay. And so it's like, boom, that's a trophy right there. Yes. Or it's like, you get the notification, hey, this film just made it to the film festival.
I was just about to say, what about when your short film make it to the film festival and you come out with 9 awards and shit?
Yeah.
You know?
It's those type of like trophies. I feel like you have to learn how to take those instead of just like, oh man, I'm not being shown at every theater across it. I'm not taking these $100,000 deals and stuff. It's like, well, you gotta work up to that, sweetie. You can't just get that out the bag. Because I remember, like, I freaked out the moment I got my first student film. And he said I got it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm an actor now. Yeah. And then I got a bigger one, but I kept getting smaller ones. But I'm like, you know what? I'm still working. I'm still going on set. And I'm still, I'm putting these reps in. I'm getting these smaller productions, but it's still something that, like, now when I've done enough to where I'm at a different level to where I'm like, okay, like, I don't care about the money yet. I'm not at the thing where it's like, well, if you're not paying me $1,000 a day, I'm not doing it. For me, it's more of, what's the distribution plan? Are you putting on IMDb? Am I going to get this kind of credit? Because for me, that's how I get my name out there, is by being able to send that out to people. Or what kind of festival circuit is this doing? What festivals are you sending this to? Right.
What are you going to do with this work?
Yeah. Is it just going to sit on your flash drive for the rest of the time? Or is it just for, like, I'll do a student project, no problem, as long as it's someone's passionate about it enough to not just do it for their class, but to do it for, hey, I'm submitting it to this film festival, this one. I don't even care if it gets in. As long as I know that you're putting in the effort to submit it, that's how I know I'm working with a director, or I'm working with someone that's passionate about it as well, instead of just like, I'm just doing this because it's money. Yeah. Because, I mean, that's literally, you have to kind of learn how to filter it yourself. I mean, I still accept pretty much every role that's offered to me, just because I'm still trying to put that work in, and you never know who's going to see it. You never know who has connections. It could be like, hey, my uncle saw it, and he's a Hollywood producer, and he loves your acting. He wanted to see you, like, oh, shit, okay. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. But you do kind of got to But like I said, it's not about the money though. It's not going to be like, oh, it's a student film. How much is it going to be? $100 a day? Nah, I'm worth way more than that. It's like get off your high horse for a second. Yeah. Put that kind of rep in, you know? Yeah. I don't know. Is that kind of similar with you, or how do you choose your roles?
You know, I have almost really. I think I've accepted the majority of all of my offered roles as well. I did decline one audition most recently for the very first time, and that's only because I was not comfortable with the term to the amount usage, or the amount of money that they were going to pay per the term. Yeah, the term seemed to be a bit too long for the amount that they were offering.
Well, and it's different when it comes to those commercial offers,
and that's
because there's no art in it. There's no passion that goes into it. You're just selling a product, so I get that.
Yeah, so it definitely, I had no hard feelings, anything. I would have loved to do it, and, I'm so happy and grateful that I was chosen to audition for the project, but I just didn't feel comfortable sitting where I'm sitting with that type of project, and just understanding my value and worth of where I've came from and what is currently on my resume. I just kind of took all that into factor. I did also have additional conversations with my agent too, because I said, it just was something that was my first time, and I just was like, it just seems, I don't know, that's a long time, so I'm like, I don't know. I felt a little uncomfortable even bringing the conversation to my agent, but I'm like, hell, you're my agent, let's talk about it.
And those kind of conversations can get a little iffy, but you also have to remember, you're not working for your agent. You guys are partners.
That's my team, exactly.
You are the business, and so if you're not comfortable doing something, obviously you can't just be like, hey agent, go fuck yourself, I'm not doing this.
Right.
But it's like, hey, so this is kind of what I was thinking. Obviously you have a little bit more skin in the game with this. Yeah. Is this normal? Should I just get off my high horse and accept this, or is this a little low, do you think? And a lot of times, as long as they're a trustworthy agent, as long as they got your back, they'll be honest and be like, this is definitely one of the lower offers that we have. Like, we're not going to be surprised if you do say no.
And it brings up a good question, because sometimes there are moments where things can be negotiated as well. So if that wasn't visible on the breakdown in itself, that the rate could be negotiated. Yeah, it was a good moment for me to see if that was a thing, and it wasn't a thing. You know? So I had to take all that in consideration.
Yeah, and especially, it's crazy of how much actual business goes into this. It's not just like, oh, I'm an actor, I do this. Like, that's my new acting coach. That's one of the first things that he was teaching us, is like, this is a business. You have to think business minded. Yes, obviously it's people, and you have to know how to deal with people, but the biggest thing is knowing the business behind it. Yeah. Knowing the fact of knowing your worth, but also knowing the worth that you put out there, and knowing their worth, because if they can run over you, they will run over you. It doesn't matter how much of a respectable company it is. Yeah. If you can lowball them, they'll be like, oh, they only want $100 for this? Shit, yeah. I mean, we were willing to pay $100,000 for this, but cool, yeah, we'll take that. Right. And then it's also like, well, I'm actually a brand ambassador. I have 500 million followers on Instagram. If someone sees me in this ad, even if you guys get 10% of my followers alone buying your product, you guys are still skyrocketing your thing. So I see a $5,000 offer here. We're going to bump that up a bit, because I know you guys are going to make billions off this product alone just with my face on it. And that's how, like, a lot of those bigger artists are able to negotiate, like, hey, you want me in your Capital One ad? Okay, cool. Well, I'm an A-list actor. I might not have worked for a little bit, but people still know my name. Okay. People can still see my face.
I'm a name.
The second they see my face, and if I say it's reputable, then it's reputable. They're going to be like, oh, Ashley Tisdale's in this? I remember Ashley Tisdale. Mm-hmm. Okay. And like, oh, she's got some good skin. The skincare product's got to work good for her. Yeah. Oh, maybe. And there's always that kind of, I feel like that intertwinedness to where it's like, if this is what they recommend and they say they use it, I'm using something that a celebrity uses. And so that's automatically going to be a trickle effect. And so a lot of it has to, like, you have to have a team behind you that you know has got your back. Because obviously, you might not be able to negotiate yourself. But if you have a team behind you that's being like, hey, my client, you want to offer my client this amount? No. Like, obviously that's the confusing part, because this is commercial versus theatrical. That's why there's different agents for theatrical versus commercial. And a lot of commercial agents, they'll know one thing, but like with theatrical, it's still a similar thing. I think it's like Leonardo, his minimum's like 20 million per role. Doesn't matter how small it is. See? But it's because of the fact of he is the most recognizable face on the planet. Period. There's movies that you don't even know what the premise is. You don't know what the storyline is. Okay. You don't know who the director is.
He murdered that scene.
But you know he's in it. You know it's going to be a damn good scene. You know it's going to be a damn good movie. You know he's going to be getting it though. Yeah, or like comedians. If you know it's a comedy and you know it's like, oh, Kevin Hart's going to be in this. Oh, it's going to be a funny ass movie then. Right. Okay, cool. And so it's like those are the people that and you're like, "Oh my god, they just rejected $10 million because they didn't want that. $10 million would be amazing." It's like, well, you have to see their brand. And the fact of that $10 million isn't going directly into their pocket. They had to pay so many people out of their own pockets, which is why it's like they might have a $20 million minimum, but then they have to pay their agents, they have to pay their managers, they have to pay all these other people. So they might be walking away with literally like 30% of the entire paycheck. And then obviously taxes after that because we're not a tax-free business. Okay. So it's like after everything, like the production company might write a $20-30 million check to them and they might get excited and be like, oh, wait. I'm getting like a quarter of this because of all the people I have to pay. And yeah, that's still a lot, but it's like, well, that was 8 months of my life. I just had to do 14 hours a day, one day off a week, overnights. I had this injury. So it's like, it's not, I don't know, it's not easy
Script
shit.
changed 15 times.
Oh my God, yeah. The amount of times that happens, like, this doesn't make sense. Or like, you have to be able to speak up and be like, hey, my character wouldn't say this shit. I don't know I don't know what kind of drugs you were on. This is what my character would say. And he's like, and you have to deal with like the attitude, like, I'm the director. And it's like, you hired me to play this character though. So, and obviously like, you have to know your balances and stuff. But a lot of times you have to find that balance of like, when can I speak up versus like, shut your mouth right now.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't really had any instances though where I had to battle between shutting the fuck up or, speaking my truth. I've seen some instances and it just, for me, I just personally feel like you know the script, you know the character, you know the synopsis of what's going on. So you kind of know what's already expected of you. Therefore, when you get on the set, talking back and forth to the director about what you think should be happening instead and what you feel is kind of, for me, a little disrespectful.
Oh, 100%. That actually goes in, so when I was in class last week, one of the first things that our coach was saying was like, I have a lot of issues sometimes with people coming on set and they ask the stupidest questions ever. It's like they'll have a chair in the middle and it's like, okay, we need you to walk from A to B. And then a lot of times they're like, so do you want me to like move the chair? Do you want me to like move it 2 inches or how do you want me to do this? And it's like, I want the actor that's like, okay, cool. They do it. And then if you get feedback and, hey, we want to do it a different way, do it the other way. Otherwise, they hired you for that role for a reason.
Yeah.
If like they hire you because they think that you have the confidence to be able to know what that character would do or not.
Exactly.
If that's an aggressive character, maybe it's to smack the chair out of the entire fucking thing and be like, boom. And it's like, why did you do that? Like, well, he's angry as shit right now and he's a very, very physical person. So I feel like he would do this. And the director's like, oh, cool. Yeah, let's keep it in.
Exactly.
I didn't even think about that. But no, you're right. Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be like, I get what you're saying, but I don't want it to be like that right now. I'm like, cool. Yeah. We'll reshoot, another take, boom.
Exactly.
And so it's having that confidence to be able to be like, you know what, I got this. If they want to come back and be like, you know what, we don't like that, we want to reshoot it, that's just what happens.
Yeah. But there's nothing wrong with a redirect. I mean, come in and you, like I said, you already know what you're doing. You know what your part is. Just come in, do your job. Get your redirect. There's nothing wrong with redirects.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Like, I feel like, okay, you like something, boom. I got that one part, boom. I got you. I'll change it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And a lot of times, redirects aren't even because of you. A lot of times, it's because of the production. Like, the amount of times in my first production that I was like, oh, no, you guys did phenomenal.
Right.
We forgot to get this in focus. Or we didn't, the sound was messed up for this.
Or we panned too fast. Like, it could, again, little things could just...
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
And sometimes you might not know though, and it's like you have to learn how to not take that kind of shit like personally. Especially like, okay, we need to redo that take, and it's not like immediately going like, oh, I fucked up. How can I redo this? Yes. It's like, you know what? Okay, cool. Retake. Cool. Yeah. If he says, now I want you to try this instead, then make okay, cool. Just learn how to take that redirection, but don't like oh, I'm a terrible actor, we have to do a retake because of all this, and not going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Which, speaking of like those rabbit holes and stuff, obviously this is one of the most grueling careers ever. The amount of rejection that you get, even the top actors that I've seen have percentage rates of like highest being like 7%, meaning that's the amount of roles that they book.
Yeah.
How do you not fall down those dark holes of like not feeling like you're good enough, or the depression, or handling so many no's? Because obviously I know I've seen your IG, I've seen you put in reps, I've seen you put in work of these self tapes and stuff, but I know just from my own experience, you're not booking 89% of these roles you're getting.
Right.
How do you deal with all that?
Listen, I deal with it, and let me tell you, I be having my moments. I have my moments where I do get a little down on myself, where I'm just like, how do you get 12 auditions and not land not one of them? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, and then it's the same casting fucking director, and it's like, you don't like nothing? So I definitely do have my moments where I do get down on myself, but the biggest thing that really helps me is my support system, the people that I have around me and that I surround myself with that, you know, feed my ear. Yeah. They feed it with good shit, good positive stuff that reminds me of the work that I have put in and what I have done. So having those reminders really helped me through the process. And again, just really during those times, really focusing on myself, especially when it comes to my health. I hate fucking working out, but I know that that's a habit that can teach me so many different things. 100%. From discipline to listening to myself to just, you know, building a positive and healthy habit. So in those myths, just making sure that I'm focusing on myself and making sure that my mind, body, and spirit is ready physically, mentally, and spiritually for when the role does come, and I am clear-headed for it. Right. As well, too, is making sure I'm always working. Like I said, I take those big wins like we were talking about earlier. If I get those auditions, I'm really going in and hard and expressing every different type of me, emotion of me during those auditions to practice. To really work and hone in my craft. So I really just take in as much positive stuff as I can, because I know that I could definitely get to those spots where I'm just like, what is going on? When is my job coming? And it's crazy because I had made a post a little while ago. I had looked at my book because I write down my auditions, what type of audition it was, when it was, if I get a call back, if I get it booked, the date and everything. Really? So yeah, it helps me track on like month or a year basis how often I get an audition, how often just kind of like track everything, keep my numbers, what type of auditions I'm booking. Yeah. So I kind of know where my strengths are lying at too, and where I need to work at on which ones I'm getting callbacks on, things of that nature. And I think the last time I did it since the 2023 has started, I've only booked 4 or 5 out of the 13, 14, or 15 that
that's
I've had
still a pretty good ratio. Like, in all honesty, that's I can't do it off the top of my head, but that's still pretty high.
Yeah. So it feels good, you know. And some of them, you know, I was held. Some of them I had a callback. You know, some I didn't hear from. You know, so tracking that also helps too. You know, seeing what I am getting booked on, the amount of money that comes with the ones that are booked, the things of that nature, like really being happy for what's already been done. Right. Because I know that what I've already done can always get better and be greater.
Absolutely. No, I like that a lot. And so are you acting full time? Is that like your full-time job? Or no. So how do you support yourself? Because unless like, do you have family that financially supports you, or are you supported yourself?
I work at home. I do a regular 9 to 5 job. I work 5 a.m. to 1:30 Monday through Friday. I have the weekends off.
5:30 to 1. Those are some ouchie
and
hours.
I set it up that way because I know with acting, auditions and stuff can tend to be early afternoon-ish, right? You know, so I kind of set it up to where if I have to work, I'm in and out, in and out. And the type of job that I am in, and I'm also a lead in that job, it's very flexible to where if I have to leave for an audition for 2 hours, I can come back and make up my time within that week by Saturday. So I'm not on a rigorous schedule when it comes to my job and being like defined. You have to work or you're gonna, we're gonna fire you. My job is very, 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 very flexible, but I set my schedules up to make sure I have most of my days for my acting stuff. That way I can make my little money in the morning and go about my passion, in the afternoons.
What is your job?
I work for Illumifin. I am a long-term care provider eligibility coordinator, and I'm a lead.
So what does that job entail?
We basically determine eligibility for long-term care facilities and providers. So if an individual has to go into a nursing home, for instance, they make sure they contact us as their long-term care insurance to make sure that facility is eligible for us to reimburse them for the funds that they pay for their stay there.
Okay.
Or if they use home health care, we approve the providers and things against their policy.
So is it because you're a lead, is that what provides the flexibility, or was it same flexibility or similar flexibility as a lower position in that?
It was still same flexibility.
Okay.
The job in itself, because my team is not someone who has to be on the phone all day, we work on the back end. My job is the back end. We just send you out letters to say, hey, these are approved or not. We're not customer service. You're not calling us, asking us nothing about your policy.
Gotcha.
So the overall job in itself is flexible. So even before the lead, I was still able to get off and go to my audition and come back and make up my time.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, I'm using PTO or I really don't care. Because at the end of the day, my passion and my end goal is TV and film. So whatever I got to do to get there, I'm going to get there. If you want to fire me along the way, then you do that. If not, I'll be back. Okay.
110. I couldn't agree more with that. Like I could have definitely stayed in my 9 to 5. I could have, like, even with the schedule now, my agent, when she first signed me, she saw my career path and she was like, can you guarantee that you'll be available for what I need you? And I'm like, I don't know. And so I did have to quit. But like later looking at that, I was like, oh, I could have stayed. But I'm like, I'm glad I left because of the fact of it does allow me to be more independent. It does allow me to have better peace of mind. And like, I don't know. I know for a lot of actors, having those 9 to 5 jobs, those get to be such an obstacle sometimes because you don't have the flexibility. And then it's like, well, especially if you have that job and then they decide to revoke that kind of
flexibility that they've been given.
Then it's like, oh, well, I have to let go of my dream now. I have to let go of my passion of acting so that I don't lose my job. And it's like, well, you have to, like, the true actor, or not true actor, but like having the true perseverance is looking at that and being like, you know what? Screw this job. Acting does come first, and obviously this is not a black and white thing. Yeah, it is completely based off situations. Some people have families that take care of, so it's like I can't risk losing my $80,000 a year job so that I can pursue acting and stuff. You do have to do that, but for like me, I don't have a family to have to support. Yeah, and so I was like, you know what? I don't even make that much more. I make $19 an hour here, and I'm like, you know what? If I look at my expenses, cut those down a little bit, I can find a bartending job, or I can find something else that has flexibility and have those kinds of things where it's like, if I lose this job, there's 12 more where that came from. Yeah. And it might be a shitty job that you have to pick up for a little bit, but then it's like, do that shitty job for a little while until you can build yourself up and learn along the way. Like, being a barista isn't the most fun job in the world, but I do look at it and find different things I can learn from it along the way. Yeah. And it allows me to, especially working for a little mom and pop place, I can call the owner and be like, hey, I'm an actor. Right. I need to leave from 10 to 12 today. I have an audition. And they're going to be like, cool, come back afterwards. You're all good. Thanks for letting us know, type of thing. Exactly. And I love that kind of thing. But I don't know. Obviously, everyone's different. Yeah. So with having the 9 to 5, having the acting stuff, what does the balance in your life look like with work, love life, social life, just being able to balance everything together, and how has it kind of changed?
Man, it looks a little hectic. Yeah. I mean, it's filled with a lot of love, screams, a lot of just trying, a lot of just being positive and trying on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't really put it into words. It's just like I kind of just go with the flow. You know, I'm going with the flow. I understand my purpose. I know what's going on. I know what the end goal is. So just keeping that in the front and making sure that the individuals that I'm surrounding myself with are, on that same page with me, and just making sure that when I get hectic, you don't get hectic with me. You calm me down, and again, just having that balance of how I set up my life. When I make sure I involve myself with anything, I am looking at schedules. I got a calendar. I'm writing down everything. So gotcha. I'm very structured in a way. I have no military background at all, but I'm just very structured, and I'm very organized. So I have to see things written out in front of my face to really kind of know what's going on and like put it in my head. Like, okay, that's due on the 19th. Boom, we got this on Friday. You got to go over here on Saturday. So having that perfectionist mindset, that organizational mindset, that's really helping me keep balance as well, because without all that, I would go crazy trying to remember everything and keeping up with just a phone, and I gotta write stuff down. I need to physically do things in order for me to really grasp everything that's going on all the time. But just utilizing all those tools that have made good progress for me thus far. I'm keeping those same good habits and just adding more good ones on top of that.
Okay. And how has it changed, do you think, when it comes to picking up all this kind of stuff? Like, obviously, we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Yeah.
We can't change that. We can't be like, I want to add an extra 6 hours to the day. We all have the same 24 hours. We do need to sleep at some point. We need to decompress sometimes. We need these other kinds of things. So is there any, what kinds of things have you learned to sacrifice in order to build yourself? Or have you had to sacrifice anything? Or have you just been able to somehow squeeze everything in?
I mean, I feel like I've sacrificed my family for sure. All my family's back in Minnesota. I don't really have family here. I have friends and associates and, my significant other now. But because I know that I have a lot going on out here in Arizona, and I know my end goal, I don't get to see my family a lot when it comes to that. So I do sacrifice just seeing them on a regular basis, and that's my mom and sisters and brothers and stuff like that. When it comes to being booked, and I have a lot going on, like the one I have coming up right now, they just sent me the script and it's hella long, and we have to be fully memorized. I kind of get into these spaces where I get a little annoyed when it comes to my partner and being so lovable and on me during these times, because I'm focused, I'm talking to myself, and I'm memorizing my lines and trying to get in that character and all of that good stuff. So sacrificing just that space of comfortability when it comes between me and my partner sometimes is hectic, because sometimes he takes it personal, you're doing it to me, and I'm like, I'm not doing it to you, you know what I mean? I'm just in this space where I just really need you to leave me the fuck alone, and you're not leaving me the fuck alone. So I gotta cuss you out for you to leave me the hell alone, and it's like, I'm not trying to get there, so sometimes it's hard for my partner to kind of understand where my mindset is sometimes if I'm focused on certain things. He likes me to try to keep it the same, and it's like, I can't keep it the same. That's not how it works. I have to shift, and I'm going to need for you to shift with me. And that's a big thing, because I'm very all over the place, and I have a lot going on, and me and my partner getting along with that. With trying to find that balance of maintaining the perfect girl for him, but not being a bitch and not being so busy and not, you know what I mean? It's just kind of a lot to balance, but long as, again, we keep the positivity and the love there in the forefront, the end goal is gonna be okay. The ride's gonna be bumpy, but It's going to be okay.
Yeah. I didn't realize also when it comes to something like this of kind of the filter you have to put up a little bit and how much it affects anything from dating life to friendships that you make, because especially when it comes to dating life, you have to find somebody that understands what you're doing a little bit more, because this isn't a normal career. It's not your normal go into the office, work, come home, and do that. It's long nights. Sometimes you're free for a long time, but other times it's like, hey, I can't hang out at all this week. Wait, what? Why not? Well, I'm filming next week, and I had to spend every waking hour I have trying to memorize these lines, get into this character, and it's like, I cannot be distracted by this. This is a heartbroken person. I can't be hanging out with my wife or something while I'm supposed to be heartbroken and stuff. I need to get into this character. And so I feel like the effect that it has on our personal life too, you have to also take that in a big account. Luckily for me, I did find someone who did do theater and stuff, and so she understands a lot of the actor's life. But there's still a lot of times to where it's like, I really want to be able to dedicate more time to her, more time to doing fun stuff, going out and doing all this. But I'm like, I'm sorry, we can't do this right now. I'm bootstrapping it financially. I'm not this A-list actor that's making millions of dollars right now. And I like Mondays, I can't do anything because I have class. And then sometimes I'm like soon we're only going to be able to see each other on weekends. And for me, I'm like, a lot of times that's when I'm filming for certain stuff, especially when it comes to student films. A lot of times they're filming the weekends. And stuff, and so a lot of times it's like, this weekend, like I've had literally months where I've had 3 weekends back to back of filming, whether it be the same project or different projects. And it just so happens that I'm doing this, like I got picked for 3 different roles. I'm like, cool. And I'm like, oh shoot, I don't have any weekends this month available anymore, because this weekend we're doing rehearsal, and then this weekend we're filming, and then this weekend it's another film. And so there is a lot of personal sacrifice that I feel like needs to be expressed and shown. It's not just this glamorous life of like, when I'm working on set, I might be on set for 12 hours, but I'm only working for 3 hours because I'm just waiting, or because something like that. But even in those waiting times, that's what also separates different actors. What are they doing in those waiting times? Well, you can be trying to network, you can be doing that. Well, that's not bad. It's also, you have to be staying in character. That way when it's like, hey, we need you on camera in 3 seconds, it's like, oh shoot, I'm not in character anymore. And it's like, you have to be ready to always do that. And it's like, well, we're filming for 12 hours, I should probably get a quick nap in. I'm guaranteed that we're doing these scenes, I'm not in any of these scenes, I'm guaranteed not to be back on film or back on set for 6 hours. So I'm gonna go get some food in my stomach, go take a quick 30-minute nap, and then start practicing again. And it's like learning how to structure your life, learning how to structure your schedule, utilizing time. Like, I might not have the same life, but I'm busier now than I ever have been in my entire life, because of the fact that I have to squeeze in me time, I have to squeeze in physical workouts, I have to squeeze in work, I have to squeeze in this. A lot of people look at my schedule like, how do you do all that? I'm like, if you look at my schedule, it looks hectic, but it's that way for a reason. I have every minute of every day planned out, but I have it in a way that's like, from this time to this time is lunch, and in that lunchtime I can maybe watch some YouTube videos or decompress for a second, and then from this time to this time it's working out. And in that workout time, like, I don't take my phone in the sauna, or I don't use my phone during my workout other than for music. So I'm like, I'm staying away from this. And then it's like learning how to specifically use every minute that you can.
Very intentional.
And then it's like, hey, I have tonight off. Please clear your schedule for me. I want to take you out to a dinner. And like having those nights where it's like, it forces me to be that much more intentional, which I love. That was one of the biggest things I learned to love, is instead of just like, hey, you want to hang out tonight? Cool. What do you want to do? I don't know. Like, any friendships that I had that were like that, I cut out, because I'm like, we're not doing anything. But friendships that are like, hey, let's go hit the gym. Bet, let's go do it. Hey, let's do an audition together. Cool, let's do it. Hey, let's go read the Bible. Cool, let's go do it. Having those intentional times, being intentional with everything. If you're going to have YouTube time, if you're going to have Netflix time, have it be intentional. Have it be like, I'm setting from 9 to 10 p.m., I'm watching my favorite fucking show.
Right.
I'm going to release. I'm going to have some fun, get some endorphins flowing, get some of that. But after that, I put my phone away. So it's learning how to be intentional like that. That's like the biggest thing that I've learned so far.
Yeah, and then that takes a lot. And that's, I mean, shout out to the mental health month that just passed, you know.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That takes a lot to do and to even fathom, to put together, to have the time to put you first.
Absolutely.
To put you first and not feel bad about doing it.
Oh, 100%.
So definitely make sure that you're thinking about yourself at every given aspect and where you could find your peace and your happiness and closer to your goal and your vision. Because if we're not together, we can't do nothing for nobody else around us.
Absolutely. And kind of like going into that as well is you have to learn about yourself on a true level, not just like, oh, I think I do this. Like, learn what actual decompression looks like. Because sometimes you might be like, oh, if I just sit and watch TikToks for 30 minutes, I'll decompress. Like, no, you're not decompressing because you're watching stressful videos. You're watching videos that are all about being jealous or all about doing this.
That are triggers, right?
It's like, instead, maybe try meditating for those 30 minutes. Maybe try doing some hashtag Andrew Huberman's non-sleep deep rest type of stuff, you know?
Right,
like, I had to learn that hump. I'd get home and immediately watch YouTube videos for an hour or two and then be like, I don't feel recuperated at all. I might have been doing something different, but then I'm like, you know what? Second I get home, I'm going to put the phone away. I'm going to hang out with my dog, enjoy that time, and then do some non-sleep deep rest. Or maybe just lay down, stare at the ceiling for a little bit, just lay in silence for a little bit, and like learning what your body actually is. Like, I know that Joe Rogan, that was the biggest thing he did. He's like, I can do this because I know my body to a T. I know if I'm feeling sick, I don't work out. I know if I'm doing this, I don't do this. And for me, I respect that so much of learning yourself, because sometimes you do have the ability to go like a train for 7-8 days straight and feel nothing. But other times it's like you do 2 days in a row and you're clocked.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't know, because it could be you look at those days and you're like, oh, why can I not keep up like this? And it's like, well, you also have family drama happening right now. You also have your spouse is yelling at you, or you're fighting with your spouse, and that's taking the energy away that you didn't have before. And so it's very much just learning about yourself and analyzing your entire situation to be like, hey, I'm fighting with this person right now. Maybe I can't do 3 days in a row of this. Maybe I have to figure this out with them first, whether that be breaking up or whether that just be working it out and trying to sit down and communicate with them. Or not. So dang. I just went on a whole ass tangent.
All of that.
But yeah, I did take up too much of your time today.
Oh, this was great.
I appreciate you coming out so much. I've seen how busy you are, and it means a lot that you were able to come and kind of talk about stuff. And I know a lot of this stuff is stuff that doesn't get talked about enough, especially in the community that we are in. And I feel like a lot of this stuff needs to be vocalized a little bit more, needs to be normalized. And instead of just having this fantasy of, oh, I'm an actor, I'm doing all this kind of stuff. It's like, no, there's a lot that goes into this life, buddy.
And if I could tell anybody out there anything, it would really just be to really live in the experiences that we personally have in our personal life, because the things that go on for us personally not only helps us personally develop, our own strength, but it also helps us in the acting world. Absolutely. When we have those experiences that we could personally attach ourselves to, we could find more of ourselves in our characters. So 100%. It's okay to cry over all the situations that are going on within yourself. It's okay to be mad and really go through those emotions, because if you don't go through them, you will never know when they are there to even process them,
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Man, I love y'all.
Is there any specific shout outs or anything like that you want to give?
Man, I don't know. I mean, big shout out to my family, my mom, my brother, rest in peace to my sister Gina. Big shout out to my agent Dani. I love her so much. I haven't invited her over for lasagna yet. She loved our lasagna at the cookout, but that's another conversation.
You have to bring me some. Yeah.
Big shout out to Bay for, loving my crazy ass. And then just shout out to everybody just, who's listening and who wants to get to tap into this acting world and just wants to take that leap of faith. I say do it.
Absolutely.
Find what you love and just know that you're gonna be the shit, period. No matter what nobody tell you. No matter how many no's you got.
Yeah.
Kings and queens, you still the shit.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
100%. Awesome. Well, I'm going to have you do that little tagline. Do you remember what it was?
I sure did.
Okay.
It's your girl, the real Tenea Hudson, and I have been unmasked.
Heck yes. Oh, man.